Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory is due unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, HaKadosh. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect of the nation of Israel. The true Hebrew Israelites are the so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Americans. And there are Israelite foreigners who look like the other nations, but their seed line goes back through their fathers, back to Israel or Jacob. And there's gonna be a lesson on how we're still under the curses of Deuteronomy the 28th, or I'll say it this way, that in the American captivity, America's known as Babylon the Great, or the daughter of Babylon in the scriptures, also Egypt, and various other names. In certain chapters that you read about, like Isaiah 13, Jeremiah 50 and 51, Revelation 17 and 18, and so on. So the curses of Deuteronomy 28 still applied in America, identifying a major helper to identify through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Oshai Bashmi Kakodash that we are the Israelites. It's interesting that my phone went up right here to Hosea chapter 1 verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place, America is this place, where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people. And you got people who say, we're not the people. You also have people who tried to say Deuteronomy 28 does not prove we're the Israelites. There it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living power. But we are the Israelites, and we can prove it, and that's what this lesson is about, to edify the elect of Israel. To build our faith that we are Israelites, and that Deuteronomy 28 applied to this captivity in America, this place. Further proving we are the Israelites. Which you can go further, you can go in different chapters in Deuteronomy 28 as well. Like Ezekiel 37, Jeremiah 3, Genesis 49, Baruch 2, and so on, which you can read and study. But let me go to Deuteronomy the 28th chapter and the verse 64, I think it is. Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Oshai shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now what's a yoke of iron? This is according to Deuteronomy 28 that were put on us in the time of slavery by the Edomites. We would have a yoke of iron put on our necks, according to Deuteronomy 28 and 48. So let's read that again. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now, when we go to Isaiah the 47th chapter, I'll start at verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. the daughter of Babylon is America, same as Babylon the Great. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Skipping down to verse 6. I was wroth with my people, I polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou, Sluggy, if you hear the noise, thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient thou hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Going back to the yoke of irons that were put on her neck, which we read about in Deuteronomy 28. So that happened to us in the daughter of Babylon, in this slavery, in this captivity. And who are the people of the daughter of Babylon? It's obviously the Edomites, the so-called white man. And we can further prove that in Psalm chapter 137 and verse 7. Remember, O Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, the children of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. So Edomites, and I'll get that scripture for the history on that. Verse 7, O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed. So the Edomites and the daughter of Babylon are connected. The Edomites rule the daughter of Babylon. They're the ones that put the yokes of irons on their necks. This proves it right here. Start verse 7. Remember, O Lord Yahweh Bashmi the children of Edom and the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. So, Esau and Edom are the same, in case you didn't know. The so-called white man, which are the ones that put yokes of irons on our neck in the daughter of Babylon, which goes with Deuteronomy 28 and 48, we would have yokes of irons put on our neck. Proving that the curses of Deuteronomy 28 applied to the Israelites in America, further proving we're the Israelites. The next point, which you know what, I'm gonna make another point within here. Isaiah 47 and verse 3, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man, talking about Yahweh Shai when he comes back. He's not coming as a man, he's coming as an angelic power. He's going to bring destruction to Esau and Babylon the Great. Look, when we read Isaiah the 63rd chapter, pursuing Isaiah the 63rd chapter. Isaiah chapter 63 verse 1, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? Talking about Yahweh Shai coming to Babylon the Great to bring destruction, especially to these Edomites who ruled the daughter of Babylon. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, not mighty to save. And we read concerning Yahweh Shai coming back, I will take vengeance, I will not meet thee as a man. When he was coming in the angelic power with the so-called UFOs, the chariots of the Lord with the angels. Verse 2, wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. So he's, our Lord, our King Yahweh Shai is coming back to bring destruction to these Edomites in America. Now the next point I want to make is in Matthew the 13th chapter with the parable of the wheat and the tares, which you may or may not be familiar with. This is Matthew chapter 13, and I'll start at verse 24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. The good seed talking about the Israelites. But while men slept, his enemy, Esau Edom, is an enemy, came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. In the wheat, they look like the tares, which it'll be explained. And I'll pull up a picture first. Wheat and tares look the same, just like physically they look the same, and parabolically speaking of what it means in the parable of the wheat and the tares. So back to Matthew 13 in verse 25. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. And how did he how did the tares come about? Is Esau the enemy? He raped our woman in the time of slavery. And like I said, the tares look like the wheat, and so Esau is a so-called white man, and he rapes a woman in the time of slavery. The babies are gonna come out looking dark skin, and you even see that today. If a black woman spreads her life, if you will, for a so-called white man, an Edomite, Israelite woman for a so-called for Edomite, the baby will look dark skinned. Those are tares popping out, and again the tares look like the wheat. So I hope that makes sense. Because even with this so-called black woman, or women were getting raped in slavery, and even the women of the other tribes, like you see in the movie, I think it was The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio. There was a scene where this I believe she was a Gadite, could be a Reubenite, a native woman, Israelite. She was getting raped. Now, I don't think she has sons, but just to understand, if she did have a son, that's an example of a tare. Now, you have to go. Now, the process is explained in Deuteronomy 28. This is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and mind you, the point of the lesson is to prove the curse of Deuteronomy 28 apply to this last captivity. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. So that happened to the Israelites in this last captivity. That's how the tares came about. Jacob would have a woman, and Esau would get to her. But before we got and while he was with her, even Esau would be laying with her, and so then tares would pop out. And so the point was that thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. And another man, for example, is an enemy, Esau, the devil. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof. But the point was the top few words. So another thing, it puts it into perspective that you have black Edomites. You also have Israelites that look so-called white and like the other nations, because it's by the seed of the father. It's by the father, not the mother. Numbers 1 and 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers. So it's by the father, not by the mother, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. And so I've seen it in real time. It only takes one generation for a so-called black man to lay with a so-called white woman and have the baby look so-called white. You would think it's an Edomite, but it's a Jake. It's an Israelite. And the same thing can happen with the reverse, with the tares. And again, the tares look like the wheat, which is going to bring us back to the next verse, Matthew chapter 13, in verse 25. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, does not thou sow good seed in the field? From whence then hath it tares? Like, where did the tares come from? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them, because the wheat look like the tares. And at the end of the day, it's going to be up, when Yahushua comes back to the angels are known as the reapers, and the tares will be dealt with. Verse 30, Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. And the angels are the reapers. In the barn, it says, Gather the wheat into my barn. The barn is the chariots, the so-called UFOs. Like we read in Isaiah chapter 26, verse 20, Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers. Those chambers of the so-called UFOs, the elect are going to be beamed up into them, of Israel. And shut thy doors about thee, hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation, which is from the nuclear missiles that fire, be overpassed, so be delivered from that destruction. And we know that no tares are going to make it into those chambers, into the barns. So where do you think they're going to end up? In that lake of fire, as it speaks about in Revelation 20, in verse 15, which I'll get that in a second, Lord willing. But back to Matthew 13. I'll have it here. Matthew chapter 13. And now I'm going to go down, read, because it goes back to the same thing. It goes to something else, then back to the same thing. At verse 37, he answered and said unto them, He that sowed the good seed is the Son of Man, Yahushua. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, the Israelites, but the tares are the children of the wicked one, the Edomites. And we know Esau, Edom, is the wicked. Malachi chapter 1 verse 4, Whereas Edom saith, We are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashmil Shalakia. They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. So Esau, Edom is the wicked, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. So we read the tares are the children of the wicked one, the Edomites. And so you can tell, most likely tell by the word, if they reject a word, they could be a tare. If you see trace of an Edomite in their spirit, then maybe they could be a tare. Just like if you see an Israelite foreigner who looks like a different nation, but they receive the word and they believe it in the names Yahweh and Yahushua, that they very well are Israelite. Or do they look so-called Chinese, so-called East Indian, or even so-called white? But back to Matthew 13, in verse 38, the field is the world, the good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. Again, that's Esau, who is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, which proves that this parable of the wheat and the tares is at the end times, which we know that we're in the end times because the RFID microchip, the mark of the beast, we know it's right on the scene in World War III, Valley Jehoshaphat, Armageddon. We see that it's going to happen soon, which will be at the same time as the RFID microchip being established and implemented completely. Daniel 2, we're at the feet and the toes of this system, and the prophets are all on the scene, are all examples of how we know we're at the end of this thing. So we read the curse of Deuteronomy 28, one of the curses of thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with them, which goes with this parable of the wheat and the tares. And so if this has to do with the end of the world, then clearly the curse is still applied of Deuteronomy 28 chapter, applied in this last captivity. So these wacky-tacky Christians are through trying to disprove the Hebrew Israelites. And the reapers of the angels, and that's enough on that. But I want to go into that point because it said the enemy that sold them is the devil, or that is Esau, the so-called white man. Now we go to Revelation, the 20th chapter. Now before that, I'm going to bring out this 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Esau is ruling now. And we know that we're at the end of Esau. When you see things like the end of the world, it is either directly or synonymous with the end of the so-called white man's rulership. Because we know that at the end times, after Jacob's trouble and the nuclear missiles hit, that great destruction, then it's just the beginning of Jacob's going to rule next, with Yahushua and King David on thrones as well, and the house of David on thrones. Revelation 20. And verse, and I broke this down. I'll just go through it real quick. And I saw an angel come down from heaven. Angel is Yahushua, having the key of the bottomless pit. Europe is the bottomless pit. You can read lands is synonymous with pits in 2nd Ezra chapter 5 verse 24. The bottomless pit is Europe. And a great chain in his hand, and laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, talking about the Edomites. We read the children of the wicked one, the enemy, the enemy that sold him was the devil. So this is Edomites taking it back to roughly 400 AD. And bound into the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. So this is during the Byzantine Empire, the Dark Ages, the Medieval Ages, the medieval times, whatever you want to call it. But that time period where Israelites were ruling. Dark skin, so-called Negroes in Esau, Edom, was doing real bad. That old serpent, the devil and Satan. He fell out of power and he was doing bad. But then when he came back into power, which you have to skip from there to verse 7 because it talks about two different things. And when the 1,000 years are expired, roughly 400 AD to 1400 AD, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So that's when Esau, in the Renaissance period, that deadly wound was healed, started taking his foothold on the earth again. And what did he do? He went over to the Western Hemisphere, to the Northern Kingdom, and he started raping their women and enslaving the Israelites. He brought up Judah, Benjamin, Levi on cargo slave ships to the western part of the earth. And hence, then you have the terrors being made. That was the beginning of the terrors being made, which we know that the Harvard. And so we read the enemy that Sodom was the devil. It all goes back to Esau, Edom, the wicked, the so-called white man. And shall go out to deceive the nations, and that's what he did. After that Renaissance period, goes with Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of the judges thereof. Iconoclasm, and Esau painted up his own images as the Most High and his son, and set himself up to be worshipped. And literally, now you literally see the other nations, and especially the Israelites, worshiping the so-called white man when he clearly, instead of the Most High, when the Most High and the Son are so-called black, and there were all those images during the time of that 1,000 years. The number Gog and Magog, which is Russia, which is another sign where at the end, Ezekiel 38, with those allies too, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea, which is Armageddon, which will be fought in the valley of Jehoshaphat, the Middle East, all these nations. Now I'm going to go to verse 14. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life, it was cast into the lake of fire. So the lake of fire is America from those nuclear missiles. And so if you're not of the elect, then you will be in that nuclear destruction. So I hope that was edifying. And with that, I'll give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Kokodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone, who rule well. Shalom to the